unpaid for Medicare Part D prescription drug program caused by the Wall Street bailout, driving up the deficit, driving up the national debt. Then some people can say, oh my goodness, we got all of those expenses, and then we got to give tax breaks to millionaires and billionaires, but we want to balance the budget. Gee, how are we going to do that? Well, obviously, we know how they're going to do that. We're going to cut back on health care. We're going to cut back on education. We're going to cut back on child care. We're going to cut back on Pell programs. We just don't have enough money for working families and their needs. We're going to cut back on food stamps. We're surely not going to expand unemployment compensation. We got a higher priority, Mr. President. We have got to give tax breaks to billionaires. I mean, that's what this whole place is about, isn't it? They fund the campaigns. They get what's due them.
Now, they are also funding the La Raza. They are funding the illegal immigration up here. And every illegal that gets up here and starts getting these benefits and these tax breaks that I just told you about, all that is taking away from what? Oh, that's right. The middle class. That's you and me. We've worked all our lives. I've always had a business. I paid my taxes. I paid my Social Security. But I don't care if somebody from another country, if they can. The government is supposed to be protecting our borders. If those people from another company, I feel sorry for them. If they are living in a communist country, if you're down in there in Acapulco and you can't get a job, and you can't go to work, and you can't feed your family, I don't blame you. I'd be walking up here too. If that's the only way I got to survive, and that's the way these elitists, they move people around. That's why they starved farmers out in the Ukraine. They've broken people. South Africa, they attacked the Boers, the farmers. And today in South Africa, if you're a farmer, you're at risk, just the same way if you're a rancher down there on the border of Mexico. You're at risk because they are driving these people up to you. You're listening to Bernie Sanders here, an independent from Vermont, and he's telling you what the scam is. He is right flat out telling you what the scam is, and that's up on my website, freeamerican.com. You want to find out more? Well, I've got the whole history of the Rothschilds, how they did it, how they start the wars, and I've just told you here. You know, all that's necessary, if you're an international bankster, is to ensure that a government will maintain or expand its debt by involving it in war. Finish up here, Bernie.
Mr. President, amazingly enough, we have our friends on Wall Street, the CEOs of the large financial institutions. They want to rescind or slow down many of the provisions, the very modest provisions, in the financial reform bill. I voted for the financial reform bill, but I will tell you clearly it did not go anywhere near far enough, but it went too far for our Wall Street friends and their lobbyists who are all over here. And for the hundreds of millions of dollars Wall Street spends on this place, they want to rescind, slow down some of the reforms there. These people want to cut back on the powers of the EPA and the Department of Energy so that ExxonMobil can remain the most profitable corporation in world history, while oil and coal companies continue to pollute our air and our water. Last year, ExxonMobil made $19 billion in profit. Guess what? They paid zero in taxes. They got a $156 million refund from the IRS. I guess that's not good enough. We've got to give the oil companies even more tax breaks. So, Mr. President, I think that's where we are. We've got to own up to it. There is a war going on. The middle class is struggling for existence, and they're taking on some of the wealthiest and most powerful forces in the world whose greed has no end. And if we don't begin to stand together and start representing those families, there will not be a middle class in this country. Mr. President, with that, I would yield the floor.
President. Senator from...
All right. That was Senator Bernie Sanders, echoing what I've been telling you for so many years. We are in a war. And they are funding Red China against us the same way they made Russia into an enemy. And I don't believe the Russian people or the German people were our enemies. They were us. This was a war on us white folks, on us Caucasians, on us middle class, on us people that have a work ethic. And I'm not going to, and I don't advocate necessarily jumping in to any organization, because these organizations are being led, funded from the top, and led from the top, not from the bottom. And remember what, Benjamin Franklin warned you about a democracy being two wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner. If you've got two classes of people here supporting these banksters. The very poor that they're driving up from other countries to come up here to get onto our little welfare system. And the very rich. And we just gave the very rich enough money to buy every home in America. My God, that money, $2 trillion, could have paid off every home in America. You and your children could be living for the next 50 years comfortably in your home if your government had been working for you and not a foreign entity. And that foreign entity is the Rothschild, the Rockefellers, the Morgans, the executives that got $1 million bonuses. They made them millionaires with your tax dollars. And what have they done for you? Oh, they loaned you the money to buy your house? Well, they didn't loan you shit. They didn't loan you nothing. They made an entry into a bookkeeping system. And at the same time, they're hoarding the gold. They are taking the gold. They are, they're replacing it. Some of the gold they're stolen. Some of the gold they're selling is simply tungsten-covered blocks. And the gold going up. Keep going up. $1,000 an ounce, whatever it is. Silver going up. Because they are increasing the prices. They set the prices of gold in the city of London. The real center of wealth is growing our own food. Mining's still fine. If you want to go look for gold, it's still there. You can find it. Of course, they could just confiscate it again, like they did in the 30s. Roosevelt confiscated all your family's gold. And it's more than just a trade value. It is also a trace mineral that we're missing now. And there's a lot of trace minerals. Excuse me here. I am bringing back out my trace mineral products. Never stop making them. Just stop selling them. Stop pushing them. And I want you to understand what the trace minerals do, because gold is one of the trace minerals. Now I've got liquid trace minerals formula. I just got an order for them, so I'm getting them back in stock. Minerals are grouped into two categories. Those that are considered to be required in our diets in amounts greater than 100 milligrams per day, Those are called major minerals. Those are calcium, chlorine, magnesium, potassium, phosphorus, sodium, and sulfur.